The glass of water slipped from my hand, crashing to the floor, but Madison didn't even flinch. She just stared at me, that smug half-smile spreading across her lips, as if she was proud of what she'd just said. "I don't know which affair partner got me pregnant, Ben," she said, voice cold and steady. "But you're still going to help me raise this child. Don't act surprised. We both know you're not going anywhere." I looked at her, searching for a trace of shame or regret, but there was nothing. She actually looked amused, like she'd just delivered the punchline to a joke only she understood. For a split second, the whole world stopped. My heart hammered in my chest. It felt like the walls themselves were closing in on me, suffocating, crushing. All the late-night meetings, the sudden secrecy, her new friends she never mentioned before, it all clicked. And now, here she was, admitting everything like it was no big deal. Her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it and smirked. Probably one of the guys. Want to answer and ask if it's his kid? She actually laughed. I felt my hands curl into fists, not because I wanted to hit something, but because I needed to keep myself from shattering right then and there. I'd always thought I'd lose my mind if something like this happened. I pictured screaming, breaking things, begging for answers. But I didn't do any of that. I just stared at her, ice cold, trying to process how the woman I married turned into a stranger overnight. Madison pushed her chair back and stood up, smoothing her designer dress like she was about to head out for drinks with friends. "Listen, Ben. I know this is a shock. But you're stable, you've got a good job, and let's be real, you're not exactly a catch. I'd say you should be grateful I'm even keeping you around." I didn't answer. Couldn't. My brain was spinning, replaying every moment from the last year, the lies, the gaslighting, the fake apologies. The way she'd laugh too hard at some guy's joke at parties. The perfume that lingered on her when she came home late. She moved closer, her perfume sickly sweet and sharp. "We're not doing some dramatic breakup scene, Ben. You're going to raise this child. You always do what's right, don't you? That's your whole thing." She was daring me to fight, to blow up, to grovel. But I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. So I picked up the shattered glass, every shard slicing deeper than she ever could. "Sure, Madison. Whatever you want." My voice was so calm I barely recognized it. She didn't notice. She was already texting again, probably to one of the other guys. That's my Ben. Always reliable. But as I knelt there, picking up the pieces, something inside me snapped. I was done playing the good guy. If she wanted a puppet, she picked the wrong man. From this moment on, I was finished being her safety net. And in that moment, as she walked out the door with that smug little wave, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Madison thought she'd just won. She had no idea the game had only just begun. She was gone for hours that night. I could hear the echo of her heels in the hallway, then the slam of the door, then nothing, just silence and the lingering smell of her perfume. I sat at the table, staring at the shattered glass, my mind racing in 1,000 directions. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was something colder, sharper. I felt like I'd been running a marathon on broken legs and only just realized the pain. Madison's confession didn't just hurt, it detonated everything I thought I knew about my life. I started thinking back to all the little things I'd ignored. Her new obsession with privacy. The way she locked her phone and giggled at texts she never let me see. Those work retreats with the company's sales guys, Tyler, Chad, even the old boss, Rick. Suddenly, the pieces snapped together like a sick puzzle. I pulled out my phone, started scrolling through our shared calendar, looking for the gaps, nights when she claimed she was out with friends, but something had always felt off. There was that night in March when she came home at 3 a.m., lipstick smudged, tipsy, and oddly cheerful for someone who'd just had dinner with Sarah. Sarah, as it turns out, moved to Colorado 6 months ago. Every time she lied, she got more brazen. She'd even roll her eyes at me, like I was the crazy one for not trusting her. I realized I'd spent months being gaslighted, tricked, and ridiculed in my own home. But tonight was different. Tonight, I finally saw her for what she really was, a narcissist who thought she was untouchable. And the worst part? She wasn't even sorry. She just wanted me to be her backup plan, her easy exit if things went wrong with her boy toys. My phone buzzed, a text from my friend Matt. "Hey man, you want to grab a beer tomorrow? You seem stressed lately." I started typing a response, then stopped. Matt had warned me before. "Ben, you sure everything's cool with Madison? She's a little distant," he'd said. I should have listened. I needed to clear my head, so I left the apartment and walked the city blocks under flickering streetlights. The cool air hit my face, and for the first time in months, I felt awake. No more lies. No more denial. My marriage was over. I was just the last to realize it. Back home, Madison still wasn't back. I went into our bedroom and opened her closet. Her side was overflowing with new clothes I'd never seen. Shopping bags from stores I didn't even know she liked. A few receipts poked out, showing expensive dinners for two, fancy hotels, and Uber rides from places she'd sworn she'd never been. In the bottom drawer, I found a burner phone. No password. Just dozens of messages. "Tyler, tonight was wild. I can't stop thinking about you. Chad, you looked incredible. Let's do it again. Rick, miss you already, winky face." There it was, the proof. Not just one affair. She'd been running a whole circus, and I was the only clown who didn't know. I snapped photos of the texts, the receipts, everything. I wasn't sure what I'd do with them, but I knew I needed evidence. If Madison wanted a war, I was going to fight smart. No more letting her walk all over me. By 3 a.m., she stumbled in, cheeks flushed, hair a mess. She barely glanced at me. "You're up late," she slurred, kicking off her shoes. "Don't start, Ben. I had a long night." I didn't answer. I just watched her. She winked, as if daring me to challenge her. "Go to bed. We'll talk tomorrow." But I'd already made up my mind. Tomorrow, things would change. I wasn't going to beg, plead, or cry. I was going to show Madison exactly what happens when you push a loyal man too far. The next morning, Madison was already up, dressed in a silk robe, humming to herself as she scrolled her phone and sipped her overpriced coffee. The sunshine spilled across her blonde hair, and for a split second, she looked like the woman I used to know, the one I married, the one I thought I could trust with my life. But that was an illusion, shattered like the glass from last night. I sat across from her, the weight of what I'd found pressing down on me. I could feel the screenshots in my pocket, the evidence burning against my thigh. The air was thick with words unspoken, a storm just waiting to break. She looked up, raised an eyebrow. "You're quiet, Ben. That's never a good sign." Her tone was dripping with mock concern, as if she were bored already. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice level. "Madison, how many?" My question hung in the air, sharp and heavy. She blinked, then smiled slowly. "How many what?" She set her phone down, crossing her legs in a way that used to drive me crazy. Now it just made me angry. "How many guys?" I clarified, holding her gaze. "How many have you been seeing behind my back?" Her smirk widened, like she was enjoying a private joke. "Does it matter? You already said you'd help me with the baby. Let's not turn this into some emotional drama, Ben. You're better than that." My jaw tightened. "I want the truth, Madison." She laughed, an ugly, sharp sound. "The truth? You can't handle the truth, Ben. If you could, you'd have left me months ago. But you stayed. Because you need me, and you know it." I slammed the photos on the table, screenshots, receipts, the burner phone messages. Her eyes narrowed, the smile finally slipping. "What's this supposed to prove?" she snapped. "It proves you're not just a liar," I said, my voice cold. "You're a coward. You let me believe I was crazy while you did whatever you wanted." You think I'm going to sit here and raise another man's kid while you laugh at me behind my back? She stood up fast, face flushed with anger. Don't get dramatic. You knew what this marriage was. You think I was happy with just you? Grow up, Ben. The world isn't some fairy tale. The words stung, but I let them hit. At least I was loyal, I shot back. At least I respected you. You're the one who made a mess of everything. She scoffed. Respect? Please. You just liked being the hero. That's your thing, isn't it? Mr. Reliable. The one who always fixes things. Well, newsflash, Ben, I don't need fixing, and I don't need saving. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched between us, heavier than ever. I felt something break inside, a bond, a hope, something I'd clung to for years. Fine, I said finally, pushing back my chair. You want freedom? You've got it. But don't think for a second I'm your safety net anymore. She gave me one last look, a mix of anger and something else, maybe fear. You'll come crawling back. They always do. I shook my head. Not this time. I left her standing there, clutching her phone, for once without a comeback. Every step down the hallway felt lighter, like I was shaking off invisible chains. But I wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Madison had played her games for too long, but now I was the one rewriting the rules. And as I closed the front door behind me, I knew exactly where I was headed next, to a lawyer's office. The law office was cold and sterile, but the moment I stepped inside, I felt more alive than I had in months. I didn't need pity or a shoulder to cry on, I needed facts, options, and a way out. I wanted to move, not moan. The receptionist glanced up, took my name, and barely 5 minutes later I was sitting across from a sharp-eyed attorney named Jessica Hall. She didn't waste time on small talk. So, Mr. Adams, what brings you in today? Her tone was brisk, professional, and honestly, exactly what I needed. I'm not here to play games, I told her. My wife is cheating, she's pregnant by another man, and now she expects me to raise the kid. I want to know my rights. I want to know how to get out clean. Jessica nodded, tapping notes into her computer. Do you have proof of the affairs? I slid my phone across the desk, the texts, the photos, the receipts, even a video of Madison openly flirting with Tyler at a party, her hand in his lap under the table, thinking nobody noticed. Jessica's eyes didn't widen. She just nodded again, all business. That'll help. You're already ahead of most people. She explained everything with brutal honesty. My state wasn't exactly friendly to betrayed spouses, but with evidence of multiple affairs, and proof I wasn't the father, I could at least avoid being saddled with child support for another man's kid. The key, she said, was to act fast and not let Madison get ahead of me. First, stop sleeping under the same roof, Jessica advised. Second, secure your assets. Change passwords. Open a new bank account. And third, serve her before she can serve you. It felt ruthless. But the more I listened, the more I realized I couldn't afford to play nice. Not with Madison. She'd shown her true colors, now it was my turn. Walking out of the office, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The next few hours were a blur of action. I canceled our shared credit cards, set up a private account, and made copies of every document that mattered. I messaged Matt, told him everything, and got the name of a good locksmith. By the time I got home, the locks had already been changed. Madison was in the living room when I arrived, sprawled on the couch with her phone glued to her hand. She looked up, eyebrows arched. Where have you been, Ben? Out sulking? I dropped the new keys on the coffee table. No. I was protecting myself. And you'll need to find somewhere else to stay. She sat up, the smugness slipping just a bit. Excuse me? You heard me. I talked to a lawyer. You have until Friday to pack your things. After that, you'll need a court order to come back in. Madison's eyes flashed with fury. You wouldn't dare. I would. And I am. I stared her down, and for the first time, she didn't look so sure of herself. You think you can just throw me out? You're not the only one with options, Ben, she spat, standing up, fists clenched. Do whatever you want, I said. Just know I'm done playing your games. She glared, then grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. Alone, I sat down and let out a breath I'd been holding for years. There was fear, sure, but underneath it was a new kind of strength. Madison had thought I'd roll over and beg. She had no idea who she was really dealing with. I texted Matt. It's happening. I finally did it. He replied instantly, proud of you, man. Let me know if you need anything. For the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a man finally fighting for his own life. And something told me the fight was just getting started. By morning, the fallout had already begun. Madison must have spent the night plotting, because she came back like a hurricane, pounding on the new front door at 7 a.m., voice shrill enough to wake the dead. She screamed my name, first, Ben, then Benjamin, when she realized I wasn't jumping to obey. I let her stew outside for a minute before I opened the door. She pushed her way in, waving her phone in my face, eyes wild. You think you're clever? You think you can just kick me out? I've got friends, Ben. Lawyers. You're not winning anything here. Her voice cut through the apartment, poison and fire. You actually want to drag all this into court? Fine. I'll tell everyone what a heartless loser you are, how you tried to abandon your pregnant wife. Let's see how your precious job likes that. Let's see how your friends react. I let her rant. I was done explaining myself, done arguing with someone who couldn't even fake respect. She kept pacing, tearing through the living room, grabbing random things and tossing them in a bag as if that would rattle me. She sneered, you know what, Ben? Maybe one of those guys will step up. Maybe I don't need you after all. Then go to them, I said, voice flat. Call Tyler. Call Chad. Hell, call all of them. See which one wants to raise a child with you. She glared, jaw clenched so tight I thought she'd crack a tooth. You think you're so much better than me? You're pathetic. You just can't handle that you're not the center of my world anymore. The old Ben might have tried to argue, might have tried to save something. But that Ben was dead and buried. I can handle more than you think, I said. And I'm done letting you treat me like an idiot. She stopped, blinking, as if only now realizing the power dynamic had shifted. She tried a new tactic, a tear slid down her cheek, crocodile style. You really want to throw away everything? All our years together, for what? Because I made one mistake? One? I almost laughed. You call what you did a mistake? Madison, this isn't just about what you did, it's about who you are. You lied, you manipulated, and you treated me like a backup plan. I'm not raising a child for a woman who wouldn't hesitate to stab me in the back again. Her face twisted, ugly with rage. You're a real piece of work, Ben. I hope you rot in this empty apartment. Maybe I will, I said, holding the door open. But at least I'll be free. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I didn't flinch. I felt lighter, every slam, every insult, every manipulative move just another layer I'd shed. But the war wasn't over. That day, I started getting calls. My boss, my mom, even Matt. Madison had been busy, spinning her version of the story, painting herself as the abandoned, mistreated wife. She lied to everyone, using the pregnancy as a weapon. Ben's throwing me out while I'm carrying his baby, she sobbed in a voicemail to my mother. He's changed. He's not the man I married. It stung, hearing my own mother ask, is it true, Ben? Did you really throw her out? But I told the truth, calmly, quietly. It's not my child, Mom. She admitted it herself. And I'm done being her doormat. For every person she turned against me, I stayed steady. I sent the screenshots, the receipts, the facts. It was brutal. There's no handbook for publicly airing your betrayal, but I refused to let her control the story. That night, I looked at myself in the mirror. For the first time, I didn't see a broken man, I saw someone who'd survived the worst, and was still standing. Madison wasn't finished, but neither was I. Madison didn't give up easily. That week, her tantrums got louder, her tactics dirtier. She was calling me at all hours, switching from threats to fake apologies in the space of a single voicemail. I stopped answering, letting her words pile up in my inbox like trash I refused to take out. The old Ben would have agonized over every message, but now? Each new attempt just fueled my determination. She tried everything, posting cryptic sob stories on social media, tagging mutual friends, reaching out to anyone who might believe her version. Suddenly, her Facebook was a highlight reel of her pain, dramatic black and white selfies, captions about betrayal and abandonment. The comments poured in, "Stay strong, Madison, men are the worst, he doesn't deserve you." I saw old friends, neighbors, even her mother chiming in. If she wanted sympathy, she got it, but only from people who didn't know the truth. What she didn't realize was, I wasn't playing her game. I was building my own. My lawyer, Jessica, worked fast. Within days, the divorce paperwork was ready. I served Madison at her new friend's apartment, Tyler's place, of course, making sure a process server handed her the envelope in front of his whole bachelor crowd. The moment I got the text, "She's been served," I felt another weight drop from my shoulders. Madison called instantly, screaming. "You humiliated me. You just love making me the villain, don't you, Ben? I should have destroyed you when I had the chance." I didn't argue. "You did enough damage on your own, Madison. This is me finally putting myself first." She hung up, but her games kept coming. She started hiding money, withdrawing small amounts from our joint account. I was ready for it. I'd already moved most of my paychecks, locked down my savings, and documented every transaction. Jessica told me, "Keep receipts, keep calm. Let her dig her own hole." Meanwhile, the DNA test came back, official, clinical, cold. Not the father. A single sheet of paper, but it meant everything. I sent a copy to Madison's lawyer. The drama about abandoning my pregnant wife ended instantly. No more crocodile tears, no more emotional blackmail, just silence, heavy and awkward. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Madison, all caps. "You'll regret this. I made you who you are." I stared at the screen for a second, then laughed, a real, full laugh I hadn't felt in years. Maybe she did shape me, in a way. Maybe her betrayal was the final push I needed to wake up and take control. If she wanted me broken, she failed. Word spread, the real story leaking out as people saw the receipts, the evidence, the truth. Some apologized, "Sorry, Ben, I didn't know." Most just stayed quiet, embarrassed they'd ever believed her. With Madison out of the apartment, I started reclaiming my life, one piece at a time. I redecorated, tossed out every reminder of her. I changed routines, met friends for dinner, ran miles through city streets just because I could. There was pain, sure, grief for what I thought we had, for the years wasted. But there was freedom too. I was finally breathing again. One night, as I stood on my balcony, the city glowing beneath me, Matt called. "You good, man?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, voice steady. "I really am." He laughed. "Told you. You're stronger than you think." As I watched the lights flicker, I realized he was right. The worst had happened, and I'd survived. Madison's betrayal had once been my nightmare. Now, it was just a scar, and I was already healing. Weeks went by, but Madison's shadow still tried to creep into my new life. She sent angry emails, desperate texts, voicemails at 3 a.m. where she alternated between sobbing and cursing my name. Each message was less about me and more about her, the drama, the attention, the refusal to accept that her power over me was gone. At work, people stopped whispering when I walked past. Some gave me those awkward, sympathetic looks, but most just carried on. It was like the world had moved on, and honestly, so had I. I finally had space to think, to feel, to remember who I'd been before Madison twisted my reality. I poured my energy into things that actually mattered. I hit the gym harder than ever, burned off the tension and rage with every mile on the treadmill. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years, people Madison had called boring or a bad influence. Turns out, those people were real friends. The first night we all met up for wings and beers, I realized how much of myself I'd lost trying to please someone who never gave a damn. I wasn't looking for sympathy, but Matt wouldn't let me off easy. Dude, I knew she was bad news. You're finally living. Feels good, right? He grinned as we shot pool, the clack of balls echoing in the background. It feels real, I told him. For the first time in years. Madison, meanwhile, started popping up everywhere. She'd run into me at the grocery store, the gas station, even my gym. Every time, she wore a new mask, apologetic, angry, seductive, even weepy, trying to find which version of herself might break through my wall. One day, she stood outside my building as I left for work. "Ben, please," she pleaded, mascara streaked down her cheeks. "We can talk. You can forgive me. You're not really this cold." I looked her in the eyes, really looked, the way I never had before. "It's not about being cold," I said. "It's about being done." That simple sentence hit her harder than any insult ever could. She turned away, defeated, and I felt nothing but relief. The legal battle wrapped up faster than I expected. Jessica's strategy worked. Madison didn't get a cent more than she deserved. No alimony, no claim on my apartment, not even a shot at dragging me through months of court drama. The moment the judge's gavel fell, I felt the chains snap for good. But the aftershocks lingered. I got calls from Madison's latest friends, Tyler, Chad, even Rick, all trying to guilt me into helping her out now that she was on her own and pregnant. "Be a man, Ben. You know she's struggling." I almost pitied them, hearing how fast she'd turned on them too. "She's your problem now," I replied, hanging up without another word. Freedom meant finally being honest, with others, and with myself. I started seeing a therapist, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand how I'd let someone like Madison rewrite my story for so long. Each session stripped away more of the self-blame, more of the guilt. I learned how to trust my instincts again, to set boundaries and enforce them. One evening, sitting alone in my quiet, clean apartment, I realized the silence was beautiful, not empty, but full of possibility. No more drama, no more lies, no more trying to fix what was designed to stay broken. I could finally dream again. I even started dating, cautiously, carefully. I told the truth about my past, and instead of running, the right people listened, respected me for it. There were awkward moments, sure, but nothing compared to the chaos Madison brought. Every new connection was a chance to live life on my terms, with no more shadows from the past. And every morning, when I woke up alone, I felt something Madison could never give me: peace. The months after the divorce felt surreal, like I'd been living underwater for years and could finally breathe again. My routine settled into something calm and honest: early runs in the park, quiet mornings with black coffee, evenings spent with people who saw me, not just what I could provide. My phone barely buzzed anymore. No more late-night fights, no manipulative messages, no games. It was almost strange, the sudden quiet, but I grew to love it. I saw Madison once more, purely by accident, outside a cafe. She was with another man, her face done up, laughing a little too loud. When she spotted me, her smile froze for a second. There was no apology in her eyes. Just that calculating look she'd always worn, like she was still planning her next move. But I didn't stop. Didn't wave. I just nodded and walked on, free from the urge to say anything at all. That was her world now, a constant search for someone else to blame, another backup plan, another lie. Not my problem anymore. Instead, I put energy into things that built me up. I took a short trip to the mountains, something I'd always wanted but never had time for. I started learning to cook, making messy, ugly meals that tasted better than any restaurant dinner I'd shared with Madison. I picked up my guitar again, fingers awkward at first, then remembering old chords I thought I'd lost. For the first time, I looked back without pain or anger. Just clarity. Madison hadn't destroyed me. She'd tried, sure, but what she really did was break the last illusion I had about what love is supposed to look like. Her betrayal forced me to find my backbone, to draw lines and keep them. The world didn't end, I just had to let go of everything fake to find what was real. People sometimes ask if I regret it. If I wish I'd stayed, tried harder, fought more. My answer is always the same: I regret not waking up sooner, not trusting my gut, not demanding respect the first time it was denied. But regret can be a lesson or a prison. I chose the lesson. Some nights, when the city was quiet and the world felt safe again, I'd write out everything I'd learned, letters to the man I used to be, reminders for the future me, advice for anyone who might land in the same kind of hell I crawled out of. If someone asked me now what I'd tell a guy in my shoes, it would be simple. Don't ignore your instincts. If something feels off, trust it. Don't give your loyalty to someone who treats it like spare change. The right love doesn't ask you to bleed just to keep the peace. Don't let fear of being alone keep you chained to someone who's happy to watch you drown. And most of all, don't waste time waiting for an apology or closure that's never coming. You get to write the ending. You get to decide what you're worth. Months later, as spring returned and sunlight filled my apartment, I found myself at peace with it all. The chaos was over. I wasn't bitter, just stronger. I could see Madison's betrayal for what it was, a turning point, not a tragedy. It was the end of one story, but the beginning of a much better one. Now, every step I take is my own. Every choice is for me. I survived the storm, and on the other side, I finally found something Madison could never give me, myself.